Hello gamers, it's Goldman12 here, back with another Zenless Zone Zero video, and today I'm definitely not recording this for like the 10th time. No, I would never. Anyways, we've got Burnice here. I'm going to try to keep this quick, so forgive me for any verbal mishaps that I might make during this one. The original recording, 50 minutes long, that didn't sit well with me, right? I want to get through this a little bit faster, so hopefully I achieve that and explain everything appropriately for this, pre-release analysis. So let's hop into it. Burnice, Fire Anomaly character. Good and bad. One, Anomaly character, so it's going to have an interesting team pairing. And two, Fire. Fire is actually going to be the weakest of the three damage over time elements, being Corruption, Shock, and, well, Fire, right? This I don't think will be an issue, however, due to the, funny stuff in her kit, right? Which, of course, I will get to. So, let's get started with her stats. Her stats are pretty decent, however, they are on the lower end for, I would say, Anomaly characters. Now, granted, really only have Jane Doe for reference, but I do think we should compare it just so we can see what is going on here. So, starting off with her base attack, it's going to be 863, which is going to be, I believe, 18% less than Jane's 881. So, obviously, your attack's going to be a bit lower, which, not a good thing because that means lower damage, period, right? I don't think it's that big of a deal because, again, it's only like 18 attack, but worth noting. Other notable stats are going to be her Anomaly Mastery, Proficiency, and Energy Recharge. So, I'm going to start with Energy Recharge here, is that she actually gains Energy Recharge via her core upgrade, right? Now, the reason why this is so important is because the core ability is going to be the entire thing revolving on this character, and her entire gameplay scenario is going to be you mag dumping all of your energy as fast as you can to, proc her core ability and get more damage off of that, right? So if you're like concerned about, certain things in terms of her being an on-fielder, are not, well, unfortunately, she's actually going to be primarily off-fielder, right? As I said, the reason why she even levels energy in the first place is because her entire gameplay shtick is build energy, you put her on field, mag dump to apply Anomaly, take her off-field, and have other Anomaly characters, work with her, like, off-field Anomaly damage, right? So, again, hopefully I explained that well whenever we actually get further into, like, the core ability. But it's worth noting that instead of building Anomaly Mastery like Jane Doe has, for example, she's going to build Energy Recharge. And so therefore, of course, her Anomaly Mastery stat is going to be not as high because, as you can see here, the lower base and the fact that she doesn't build it via the passive means you will have a lower rate of buildup, right? Now, I don't think this is going to be an issue due to another thing in her core ability, and I'll explain the buildup rate thing when we get there. But it's just, something to keep in mind that her Anomaly Mastery is going to be on the lower side in comparison to Jane. As for the actual proficiency, it's going to be higher than Jane's base proficiency, which is good because this is sort of to counteract the fact that you've got a little bit less attack. It's effectively, damage percent for anomalies, right? So her having 120 is pretty solid base for a character like this. So that's good to see. All right, so moving on from stats, we have her basic attack. Her basic attack is a generic basic attack. Who could have guessed? She also has an additional basic attack. It's going to be a hold basic. So this is going to be something that is granted to you via your core ability, right? Your core ability, you enter a special state based on a meter at the top left of the screen under the character. And the way you build up that meter is by burning energy, right? And again, we have to get to that later after going through everything else. But for this enhanced basic, right, you're going to hold the button to use it. You're going to do a continuous flame for a little bit. That's going to consume, 20 of your 100 meter points, right? And once this special move or this enhanced basic is done, you can chain it into an EX special, double shot, right? The double shot is going to be one of the two variants of your EX special. Again, we'll get there. As for the dodge, generic dodge, nothing crazy. That's really about it. It does not chain into her skill like, some other characters might have that. So, yeah. Kind of unfortunate, but it's not that big of a deal because this character's dodge, well, as I said, not really important. Don't let me forget. The multipliers. Multipliers for these abilities here are pretty decent, actually, considering that she's an Anomaly character, which, there's a whole nother thing with the build that I'll explain in a second. But just like other Anomaly characters, you realistically don't have to level it, but the fact that she has pretty high multipliers might give you more of incentive to actually level it. Additionally, every character cares about days, and so having a character have pretty high days multipliers, and like, again, these are decent for a DPS character, that could warrant leveling them as well. I will say, though, I don't think you need to level specifically her base attack. If you do care about her levels and like raw damage, of course, you're going to level up her EX skill, her core ability, and her ultimate, right? Those are the ones that are going to matter. The rest of them you can pretty much ignore, right? But yeah, I just thought it's worth mentioning that the multipliers, they're solid. Moving on to her EX special, and this is the other thing I wanted to mention. Uh, Throughout this build, you'll see some funny stuff with her kit that is leaning towards crit sub DPS. Again, I'm not sure why they did that. I would prefer her to just have a one shtick, being, you know, Fire Anomaly, but there is going to be hints of crit sub DPS builds going on throughout this video and throughout her actual kit, right? So hopefully I don't forget that throughout the video. I just thought I'd mention that there is some merit to actually building her crit due to high raw multipliers, right? So her special attack, her regular special is you press and hold and you shoot out fire. Man, that's crazy. As for her EX special attack, you've got the first one, or her single shot and her double shot. I'm going to refer to it like that just because it's simpler. For her single shot, right, you press hold whenever you have enough energy, you're going to continuously spray fire, and it's going to consume your energy over time, right? During this, you can actually use the controls to dodge, you know, different directions, kind of like Yu Wan's ability. So this is going to be pretty good for defensive utility and the fact that will help you keep alive longer, right? That's pretty much it. Additionally, during this move, you're going to get 40% anti-interrupt, or sorry, 40% damage reduction, and you're going to get anti-interrupt resistance. So that's going to be pretty good for actually using the move. It's going to make it easier to use, and you won't, you know, get messed up while you're trying to combo it with other things. She also has her double fire method, which is going to be, you know, a different multiplier. It's going to shoot both flamethrowers at the enemy, and you can't dodge at this one. So you're just going to get the damage reduction and interrupt resistance, right? As for the actual multipliers of this move, the regular, you know, skill doesn't matter. We don't care about regular skills. We're here for the EX skills. As for the actual EX skill, she's got pretty high multipliers. This one's a raw 1000 multiplier for her EX skill, and she has a 2001 for the double shot. Now, there's important things to note here. You're going to get the continuous spray damage as well as the fire blast damage, and it's going to have multiple different ways of using energy. As you can see here, you've got a 40 cost for the single shot, and then over time, it's going to use 2.5 energy, and then the fire blast is going to consume 5 energy, right? So it's going to require a lot of energy to actually use this ability. And the reason why this is important is because characters only have 120 energy, right? And so if you start eating away at this energy really fast, you can only use your flamethrower shot for, you know, X amount of seconds, right? You've got a very short duration where you can actually use the flamethrower, right? Now this is kind of interesting for 2 reasons. 1, her core ability and how, you know, gains meter off of you burning energy. And 2, well, the fact that you need this much energy in the first place to generate, you know, X amount of core ability and the anomaly buildup. See, this is kind of a concerning part of our kit for me. We can't see anomaly build up, you know, numbers in the characters' kits. They're not like in game. It's somebody to have to like data mine to figure this out. And with such high energy regen makes me concerned for anomaly buildup. And again, it applies for the anomaly proficiency or anomaly mastery as well. As I've said earlier, it's looking like it's a lower rate. So I would imagine due to the high cost of the energy for both of these skills, is that's going to build it up really fast to sort of counteract the fact that the buildup at least doesn't sound too good, but it probably in practice is going to be really good because again, you're spending so much energy. So of course they're going to have it build up really fast, right? That's how I would think. We'll have to see how this works in game, but I do think her core ability does counteract this a little bit, which again, we'll get to. As for the double shot method, as I've been saying, really high raw multipliers, decent days multipliers as well, and it's going to cost a different energy ratio. So you're going to have a 10 use cost with 25 energy per second, which is a insane rate. It's only going to last like 4 seconds, and then the energy consumption of the fire blast is 10, right? So you're spending a lot of energy to use your flamethrowers, right? And this again goes into how the unit plays. You need a lot of energy recharge to get her abilities up fast, right? You put her on field, you mag dump to apply fire anomaly, and then you take her off field, right? That's the entire gameplay loop here. And again, with these high raw multipliers, you could theoretically do a crit build. Again, in practice, I'm pretty sure Anomaly is just going to be flat out better, especially with, you know, how like teams are sort of oriented. But again, there's going to be different options, and we'll see how she functions. As for her quick assist, she's actually going to have a defense quick assist instead of a range quick assist. So that's actually pretty cool. I would say it makes her better overall, as parries are going to be good for building up days. And additionally, this will allow her to synergize with, you know, certain characters and abilities in the future if they are like Caesar and have a parry that or ability based on the fact that you parry, right? So I would say defensive assist is good. I know some people might prefer an evasion assist, but for me, this personally is actually a pretty solid ability. And of course, if you do actually a follow-up attack, right, if you do the assist follow-up, you can chain into your skill, right? So that's another way in her kit to actually chain into her EX skill, right? That's pretty good. As for the multipliers, nothing too crazy. They look pretty generic. Moving up onto the chain attack is going to be a regular chain attack. However, of course, if you do use the chain attack into her, you can, again, follow up into her EX skill. So another way to route into her EX skill, or, you know, building up your anomaly even faster. As for her actual ultimate, you would have seen how this works on the live stream, but you use her ultimate, she, you know, spins around, does a bunch of crazy fire application, and then jumps in the air and just shoots fire on the enemy. It actually will stay in the air for a little bit, even if you swap. I think this is really good because it's good for fire anomaly buildup. It's good for disorder because, again, she's going to keep applying it, which, you know, she can build up that second proc after you clear it. And then additionally, she'll proc a quick assist, which is something we don't typically see on ultimates, right? So that's actually pretty good to see. I think Arena might have it, but regardless, quick assist is not something we really see on ultimates, and so that's pretty decent. However, you can make the counter argument that if you are using her on a Jane team, you'd actually prefer to use Jane's ultimate because it gives her another stack of her, you know, spin. So yeah, again, there's going to be a bit of conflict with who's going to use the ultimate, but just keep that in mind whenever you do actually play these teams. It's got a pretty high multiplier at 4K, so that's really nice to see. It's also going to additionally recover 50 heat, which is 50 or half of her meter buildup, which we'll get into now because we're on this core skill. So core skill is going to be Nitro Fuel Cocktail. Whenever Burnice expends energy, she's going to accumulate heat up to a max of 100, right? She gains 1.4 heat for every point of energy spent. And so if we want to, you know, actually do the numbers here, if you spend, let's say, half of your energy, right? You're going to do 1.4. Wait. Yes, that's right. You're going to get like 80 points of your meter built up, right? So like 84% of your meter. So you're going to have to spend a little bit more than that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I probably should have done this before actually recording the video. So you're going to need to spend like 71 energy to get to get full meter, right? Which is going to matter because, you know, as I'm getting to, her entire thing is around spending this special meter that she has after you burn all your energy off, right? So at 50 heat, she enters the Nitro Fuel Cocktail state until all heat is expended, right? And like I said earlier with the basic attack, you enter this state and then you can basic attack or consuming 20 of this heat. However, I think it's going to be better off keeping this because you need it for the remaining part of her core ability, right? So on entering the battlefield, Burnice will also accumulate 100 heat, so you can also start the battle with this. This is a good ability just for, you know, the fact that she starts it out with it, right? So you don't have to expend too much energy. In fact, at the start of battle, it's probably the case where you want to use the hold skill or hold basic, excuse me, and it will immediately, you know, like apply anomaly. Like you'll apply it really fast, use a skill, hop her off field, right? Something like that. Continuing. While in the Nitro Fuel Cocktail state, Burnice hits an enemy with a basic attack, Mix Flame, Blend, an EX Special, Chain Attack, or Ultimate. She applies the Scorched effect. This is that fire symbol you saw on the enemy during the live stream, right? Until she exits the Nitro Fuel Cocktail state. As I said, this is the reason you want to keep it, is because with this active, you will have your Scorch effect and other abilities, you know, active, right? When other squad members hit enemies under Scorch status, and keep in mind, it says other squad members, so it can't be Burnice herself. If other squad members hit Scorch enemies under the status, it will trigger the Afterburn effect, expending 8 heat, right? So it's going to be 8 of your meter, and deal fire damage up to 350 of her, you know, attack percent, right? And this is going to scale based on the actual core level. As I've already covered, you want the core leveled for the energy recharge regardless, right? So this is going to be a nice damage on top. Accumulate fire anomaly buildup. Again, we don't know the anomaly buildup numbers. However, this is really good because this is one of the problems that other anomaly characters have is building up off field. As I've stated, this character is centered around being off field, and as you can see here, this is like one of the things that ties into that, right? The fact that she can do build up off field, right? This effect can trigger once every 1.5 seconds. So every 1.5 seconds, you'll be doing, you know, a fire anomaly tick, which will be really good for building up as you can keep the build up going. And of course, proc disorder via, you know, other means, right? Have her be off field and have Grace on field to proc disorder. You can swap back and forth, get a ton of disorder damage off. It can be really strong. And then every 10 anomaly proficiency you have, the damage of this attack is going to increase by 1% up to a maximum of 30. The damage from afterburn effect is considered assist attack. So this is one thing that's kind of strange, the fact that it's assisted damage. Assist damage isn't something we see in this game, really. I can't think of any other character that even has the exclusion of assist attack damage. I think the reason for this is the fact that they didn't want her to work with certain weapons, and or just to differentiate, is that the word? I'm probably saying it wrong. The fact that she is going to be a assist damage percent, right? Which is, again, as I said, a rare thing we don't really see over like the game's 100 plus stat categories. Assist damage, I can't think of any other point in the game where this has been used. So I think there's a reason they excluded this, probably for the weapons. But again, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Just keep that in mind that this does obviously affect which weapons are going to be better on her versus other characters. As for her additional ability, Fire Kindling, when there's another squad member in your team that is Anomaly or the same faction, they'll proc this ability, right? So Burnice basic attack, mix flame, or EX special attack, or EX special, double shot. It's an enemy, or when afterburn is triggered, keep this in mind, this is the main thing here. The move's accumulated fire anomaly buildup is increased by 65%. When any team member applies the burn effect, the duration of that effect is extended by 3 seconds. So this right here is basically required for this character to do well. It's not like some other characters where you can put her on like other teams. You need this, right? The reason for it is the anomaly buildup, right? This is where I'm going to explain this. So the thing with anomaly in this game is that it's going to be a raw number, right? So this percent right here isn't going to be how it's reflected in game. It's going to be like a straight number, like 1, 2, or 3, right? It's going to be a raw number. I'm just using this for the calculations because we can't see the numbers, right? So as an example, Burnice, she's going to have like 150 anomaly proficiency, or anomaly mastery, sorry. And it's going to be higher, but just as an example, it's going to be, about this number. So with anomaly proficiency or mastery, I'm going to mess that up so much. With the mastery being 150, you're going to have a 50% increase in your actual buildup, right? The reason why her core skill matters so much is that these multiply into each other in terms of how effective they're going to be, right? So this 65% bonus for her skills is going to make this a 2.5 times multiplier for her actual buildup for anomaly, which is huge. So you need this skill to have her build up really fast, right? And yeah, that's basically it. Her core ability matters a lot for her actual build up because they multiply into each other, right? And this is the same thing you see of Jane Doe with having her M1 or her weapon. You get that build up that's going to make her build up really, really fast, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And then the main thing here as well is the other main thing is going to be this, the fact that it extends burn by 3 seconds. So in case you don't know, burn or anomaly damage in this game scales off of the amount of ticks that you can do, right? Or the DOT, right? As for shatter, assault, so your ice and physical, they're going to have lower disorder scaling, right? As for shock, corruption, and burn, they're going to have higher disorder scaling. It's going to be based on the number of seconds you can do it, right? So anomalies in between each other, right? So the same type of anomalies have a 3-second cooldown. And so typically I would just do for calculations, if you're trying to build up from raw, most characters, at least for Jane Doe or like Grace, for example, it's going to take about 3 seconds to actually proc it from like 0, right? Again, this can vary from different scenarios, but I'm just giving this as an example so you can understand what I'm trying to explain here. Your regular disorders damage is going to look something like so. If you got like 400 anomaly proficiency, you got like, almost 3k attack, you got like 40% damage bonus. You can see here, you've got your damage right here. It's going to be about 266,000 damage for burn disorder, right? However, this is why the timer extension matters so much. This is going to increase the multiplier of the actual disorder. And so for somebody like Burnice, her disorder damage is going to be higher than Grace by herself disorder damage, because you're going to get that timer extension. It's going to be 10 seconds. It's going to increase it all the way up to 333 or 35,000, right? Massive increase. And so this is the biggest thing to have for this character and her teams, is the fact that you can proc her additional ability, because it's giving you that insane rate increase and that massive multiplier increase for your disorder damage, because it's giving that timer extension, right? So yeah, that's the main thing there. Her core ability, very important to proc. This is going to restrict your teams a little bit, but again, we're early on in the game, And I will say, as you've seen in the thumbnail, one of the main reasons I'm re-recording this video is I do think this character is going to age really well with other anomalies, right? We'll just have to, see how this happens. And a lot of this stuff is going to be theoretical, right? Because I can't really explain it because I don't have my hands on the character. But this is the best I can do as of right now for analysis, right? So I can't really, again, explain everything in game. I'm just going to try to talk about it and explain to you my thoughts over the matter. And I guess I can just throw it in this video, or this part of the video. I do think this character is good. I just don't think she's going to be a priority for most people, which is going to be kind of unfortunate. And as I've said, she's also primarily off-fielder. So if anybody was hoping to on-fielder, you're going to be disappointed by the fact that she is designed like this as a sort of off-fielder or like sub-DPS character, right? But I do think she'll be really good. She will be a really strong teammate for most, if not all, Anomaly characters. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't run her on an Anomaly team, or like with like somebody like Jane or something, right? Because she's gonna do so much damage, and the fact that she's getting a timer extension as well means that she'll kind of just beat out Seth's buffs. Again, we'll have to see in practice, but this again, it's gonna be here or there. And I'm already going way off from like the original recording, but I think this is gonna end up better because I'm providing more context for how the character functions in this video. But yeah, that's the kit. Damn, 20 minutes. I'm a yapper. Anywho, that's the M0 kit. I'll continue on to the dupes. So the dupes overall, I don't think are that crazy. I think you're totally fine at M0 and you'll be set, right? So I wouldn't worry about getting dupes. If you're wanting to invest vertically into this character, make sure you get the weapon because that's going to be one of her biggest increases. So then, as for actual dupes, we got the first dupe. It's going to increase your cap of your meter up to 140. So this means you'll have a larger amount of meter to spin, which will also enable you to perhaps use the hold skill, hold basic more, right? And it's going to allow you to get more overall scorch procs, which I don't think is going to be a big deal because it's going to be every 1.5 seconds, and a lot of your rotations are going to allow you to just have Jane on field most of the time, and so you can just fully expend your meter and not have to worry about it and then put Burnice back on. But this might make it more comfortable for some players, as you can hold more overall meter, have her off field more, and or have her, spend more time building up energy, right? So this could be better for some players than others, but I don't think this first part of it's really that important. And then upon entering battle, she accumulates additional 40 heat, which, is just going to add on top of this one. So you're going to start battle with the max cap, right? 140, that is your new cap. It also increases the damage multiplier of Afterburn by 100% of Burnice's attack. Again, this is a weird one. As I've said earlier, for a lot of stuff in our kit, it's a leaning towards crit sub DPS. Not sure why this is. They should have doubled down on the anomaly parts of it, but they want to, for whatever reason, increase this up to a 450 attack multiplier. Again, very strange, but you can get some damage out of this. I really don't know what to say about this one. I would have preferred just raw damage percent, like triggering Afterburn increases your damage percent or something like that. Again, I really don't know why there's these raw damage increases for an anomaly unit when their whole thing is building anomaly. But it's here nor there, right? It's whatever for this part. And now for the important part of the M1 that as I said is going to matter a lot, is going to be the fact that you get additional fire anomaly buildup from your Afterburn, right? So it's going to be another 25% Afterburn. Now, it sucks that it's included only in the Afterburn, but this will allow you to, I mentioned earlier, if we pull it back up, it's going to increase this up by another 25%. So that's going to be 190 because you're getting 70 plus 20. And so you'll see you're getting a massive increase. And oh, wait, I mistyped that? My bad. Sorry. You're going to get a, X amount more percent buildup. It's going to be, instead of what I said, 2.5, it's going to be 2.85, right? So you're going to get a pretty nice increase there in terms of your actual buildup for Afterburn specifically. Again, not the craziest dupe, but it does help her out in terms of, I would say, probably comfortability, if anything, with the fact that you've got a higher overall cap for your heat, right? As for a second dupe, when triggering Afterburn effect, thermal penetration is applied to the enemy, stacking up to 5 times, lasting 6 seconds. Repeated triggers reset the duration. When any allied unit in the squad hits the enemy, the attack's pin ratio is increased by 4%. each stack, thermal penetration up to max of 20. So don't get it twisted. This is a okay dupe. A lot of people are probably going to overhype this, but we need to make things clear. Penetration ratio is effectively defense penetration, right? It's the same thing. It's doing the same thing. It's really good when stacked. In a solo scenario, it's not that good. So I'm going to show you my numbers here. Again, they're going to be like, it's not the best numbers flat out, right? But the reason why I bring this up is because defense in this game is not exactly the same as like Honkai Star Rail. It's gonna have exact same stats as wait, am I in the right one? I might be in the wrong one. My bad. Here we are. Sorry, I was in the wrong one. Defense in this game is gonna be a bit different than Honkai Star Rail. It's gonna be matching like the character scalings, and the reason why that matters is because enemies up to a certain level are gonna like cap out on their defense ratio, and so you'll see a defense ratio of like 50% exactly, and so completely with like no modifiers, you're gonna be at about 50% of the damage you would deal. Adding 20 pin ratio or up to 20 pin ratio, mind you, this has to build up, is not gonna be that big of an increase of overall damage, right? Now this will matter more because it's gonna boost Jane's damage or Grace's damage, or like having Rita on the team is going to boost theirs more because they can stack pin ratio, right? Like if you put Rita on there, you put Grace with her weapon especially, you can stack a lot of pin ratio and get the most benefit out of this. However, pin ratio by itself is not going to be that crazy. As you can see here, putting in 20% is only going to be about like 6 or 7% damage increase when they're not stunned. When they are stunned, right? Let's say it's like a boss, right? It's going to be 50%. You're going to see about a, I think it's like 13% increase. Let me make this 0 again. Right. So you can see 77% increase. And if we add in that 20 pin ratio, which mind you has to build up, is going to be up to 85. So you're actually going to see about a 8% increase in damage, right? Again, I know it sounds really good, but by itself, it's not that crazy. If we add in something like Rina's to the equation, it is going to be another 29%, which is going to increase this up to 110%. This is where it starts becoming really strong whenever you combine it with multiple things. But however, on its own, it's not that potent, right? And if we take away the multiplier, you can see it's only at 67. So yeah, you do need it to be stacked for this to be really worthwhile. But by itself, I don't think it's anything too crazy. So yeah, unfortunately, the second dupe, not too crazy by itself, but this will depend on however you build your team, right? That's really all I can say there. Moving on to the fourth dupe. Whenever you use the EX skill or assist attack, right, which is again going to be the afterburn proc, its enemy, the move's crit rate increases by 30%. This is another one of those things that I mentioned. I don't know why they keep sort of building here towards like a crit sub DPS, but you can see that's what they've done here. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that this isn't in an earlier dupe. Honestly, I would have liked to see this in an earlier dupe only because it would make the build more viable and more realistic for people. And I'm not trying to sell you on building her crit DPS, by the way. I'm just mentioning that this is a route that they seemingly want you to be building into for whatever reason. And then the max flame spray duration of the EX shot heat string method double shot is increased by 1 second. So yeah, your 2 shots can last 1 second longer. Again, nothing too crazy. Just is what it is. And then as for 6 dupe, whenever Burnice hits an enemy with the double shot, it triggers the special afterburn effect, dealing 60% of her attack. So this is effectively giving you double hits for her EX special. This is insane, right? Because it's triggering afterburn. We already know afterburn is getting a massive rate increase. And the fact that you're triggering afterburn from her, right, outside of her core ability, means you're just basically getting like double the rate buildup for her actual flamethrower. So she's going to be like instantly proccing anomalies on everybody, which is insane. And in fact, I wish something like this was in an earlier con, because if she can proc it even faster, yeah, get that, But this is, just going to be X% more damage for actual flamethrower, and it's going to double down onto her other, dupes, allowing you to get more out of the crit, right? Because as we already did, assist attack, right? Her core ability is an assist attack, right? You see how this all compounds onto each other to make a really strong M6. This effect can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds and does not consume heat. So, of course, you don't burn meter while doing this, you just gain meter. After hitting an enemy with EX special double shot, while the move is active, EX special double shot special afterburn effect will ignore 25%, or sorry, special afterburn and burn effects will ignore 25% of the enemy's fire res. This is really good because, again, when we talk about damage penetration and how this game does damage calculations, just like Star Rail, you're going to be basically doing 25% more damage, assuming they are neutral resistance, right? If they're already weak to that damage, of course it's going to scale accordingly. But I just want to show you, like, 25 res pen is going to give you a nice damage increase all the way up to 71 off of nothing, right? So that's 71 from 57, right? So you're going to get a really nice, actually that's with pin ratio, my bad. I don't want to make that mistake here. Let me just catch myself in the act. So it's 51, right? And if we add in like the 25 res down, it's going to give you about a 64%. So this M6 is going to give you just like raw damage for all of this. Like, again, because it's stacking on top of everything else, it's going to give you like a 15% damage increase, which is going to be pretty nice. And you're going to be like, oh, that sounds kind of small. Well, you got to remind yourself that it's stacking with the fact that you're getting built-in crit, you're getting extra burn procs, the fact that your afterburn's doing more damage, you're going to be getting another afterburn proc from this, you're going to instantly apply Anomaly, your burn damage is going to get that penetration, it's going to just stack on top of everything. Furthermore, whenever your EX special double shot hits an enemy, if that enemy is burned, it'll trigger an additional proc of burn of 1,800% of the original damage. This effect can trigger every 20 seconds each target. This is insane because, as we already covered, it's burn damage, it's getting that defense penetrate, or sorry, that res penetration. You're gonna get, excuse me, you're gonna get this pin ratio penetration, and you're gonna get all these things stacking on top of each other to do a massive chunk of damage. This M6 sounds really good on paper. I don't know how it's gonna, excuse me, I don't know how strong it's gonna be in game in comparison, like Jane Doe's, who's gonna do a similar thing for her M6, where you're getting a massive 1,600 proc. Jane can crit. So obviously this is just going to do more damage. But for Burnice, character who's not doing that, it's still going to do pretty strong raw damage, right? So M6 I think is actually really good because it's stacking on top of everything else. But yeah, that's it for dupes. Again, unfortunately, they don't look too crazy. I don't think any of them are really like, oh, hey, you want to get this, except for like the M6, which, you know, it's Giga Whale stuff, right? I don't expect people to get stuff like that. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the dupes. Unfortunately, they don't look too crazy, but as I've said, M2 specifically looks really good if you have other ways to stack pin ratio. Otherwise, not that big a deal. And then M1, I think, will be more comfortable for a lot of people. However, it's time to transition into the actual weapons for the character, because that's going to be the important thing for an Anomaly character, right? What stats you're getting from your weapons. So then, do I not have a weapon tab open? Damn, bro, I should have. SMH. Anyways, I gotta keep this going because this video is getting just as long as the last one. So as for her actual weapons, we have a lot of options here. I'm gonna tell you right now, Jane's is not a acceptable weapon. It's gonna have really high base stats, right? Don't get me wrong. However, most of the passive is gonna be inconsistent for what she wants to do because this character is gonna be off field, and so you're not gonna be getting the multiple stacks of this active consistently to get the rate build up. So I wouldn't use Jane's weapon on her. Grace's weapon. Grace's weapon is going to be one of those things where you can stack pin ratio. However, I do think it's going to be better off on Grace because, once again, this is whenever you are using an EX skill or EX special. Granted, if you're doing really fast rotations, you might be able to get some use out of this because it's going to last for 8 seconds and give you anomaly proficiency. However, I do think some of the other options are going to be better off overall. It just depends on whatever team you're going. If you're running like Arena and you're trying to stack res pin, then this will actually be a solid option. But again, it's going to be here nor there in terms of other options you actually have for this character. And so, again, we'll have to see how this calcs in actual damage testing. But I'm not expecting this to do as good as some other options. Plus, it's got the lower base attack. As for 4-star, actually, no, we're going to go back to 5 stars. Her signature weapon. This is going to have that Jesus Christ, that high base attack, kind of like Jane's. And it's going to give you raw 30% attack, right? And the main thing that this is why it's so important, why I mentioned it earlier, is that it's going to give you energy recharge, right, on a weapon. And as I've stated, and as I hopefully made it clear throughout the extent of this video, is that she is popping in to burn energy. This helps her get that energy so that you can burn it faster and proc her other abilities, right? And so this is going to compound with the fact that she is leveling with energy recharge. And this is another way to get additional energy recharge. So this weapon is going to be drastically, like a drastic improvement for her overall. Additionally, it's going to give your EX specials and your assist attacks damage percent up to 10 times, lasting for 6 seconds whenever you hit an enemy. So obviously her EX special is going to build this up really fast, and then your assist attacks is just going to be a way to keep it up consistently, right? It's going to keep it up consistently, and that's really about it. It's to give you good uptime on this. This effect can be triggered once every 0.3 seconds, while off field the stat gain is doubled. This is another way of keeping it up, right? While you're off field, you'll get double the stacks, right? So even if you use it for like half a second, you don't get all 10 stacks, which granted, it does trigger really fast. You're going to get that double stack gain off field, so you're always going to be at high stacks. Upon obtaining the damage increase effect, the number of current stacks is greater than equal to 5. The equivalent anomaly proficiency raises by 50%. This anomaly proficiency increases not stack and lasts for 6 seconds. So, as you can see here, this is going to give you another 50% anomaly proficiency, which is really good because this is going to increase your actual anomaly damage and your disorder damage. So, as you can see, the fact that this is giving you raw damage percent and anomaly damage percent, this is going to be drastically her best option. I expect this to perform way better than every other option for her because it's doing exactly what she wants, right? Regardless of the fact that it doesn't have build-up percent, like Jane's, for example, I do think it's still going to be a really good option, and definitely I would recommend getting this if you do get Burnice, because it's going to be such a big option for her, right? And of course, like always, we'll have to see once they actually come out how everything calcs and all that stuff, but it's to be a pretty solid option. As for weapons, the other options like the 4 stars and 3 stars, I can tell you right now, only one of the 3 stars matter, and it's going to be this one that's going to give you anomaly proficiency and, you know, an additional anomaly proficiency whenever you do build up, right? So that's going to be a 3-star option. The other ones we can ignore just flat out. As for the free-to-plays are like 4-star options, the battle pass one's going to be good, but like as you've seen with other characters, it's going to be based on whether or not they have anomaly applied to them. Now, granted, with Burnice teams, you always are going to have anomaly applied to it because she's, you know, doing off-field burn proc, so they're at least having burn on them at some point in the battle. So you'll have this up pretty consistently. However, I do think other options might perform better, but, you know, this again is going to be another thing that has to be calced, because this on paper looks really good, but as you've seen with other anomaly characters, is kind of off and on in terms of, you know, consistency of being active and giving you the buff. As for Piper's weapon, again, this is why it's kind of, you know, locking yourself out here. It's going to be whenever you use an EX special and it hits an enemy, and it will last for 5 seconds. Now, granted, because Burnice is popping on field to prog EX specials, your EX special is going to have a really high buildup rate because this is one of the few weapons that has buildup rate. It's also going to give you proficiency. So if you are immediately building meter with your EX special, this is actually going to be a really strong weapon for it because you can very easily prog all these effects. However, this is going to be a very off and on weapon because every time you do a your like a coordinated attack, right, her afterburn proc, you're going to be losing out a bit of the effectiveness of this weapon, right? So, you know, it's going to be inconsistent just like the lip gloss, but can lead to some really impressive results with her flamethrower attack. So we'll see how that one plays out. As for the other weapons, the two like free-to-play, not free-to-play options, this one's free-to-play. Can you craft the Weeping Gemini? I think that's the other free-to-play one. I could be mistaken here, but regardless, between these two, I do think your best option is going to be Rainforest Gourmet, because the fact that I've been saying this whole time, she's burning a lot of energy, right? You're burning a ton of energy really fast. You're going to keep this up pretty reliably, I would say. So this, in my opinion, is going to be the better option for free-to-plays. It's going to give you this base anomaly proficiency. Weeping Gemini is also going to be pretty solid, but it's going to have an inconsistent passive with the fact that whenever the enemy gets stunned and or they die, you lose all of its bonuses, right? So personally, not a big fan of that, but yeah, those are the weapons, right? Ooh, damn, I'm making this way too long. Anyways, moving on. Gear for her is pretty simple. There's going to be a new set that you're going to want to farm for her. It's Chaos Jazz. I recommend this as her best in slot set, hands down, without questions. Reason: it gives you anomaly proficiency, and it also gives you fire damage percent. That's really all you need to see. The rest of it is whenever you are off field, the damage caused by EX specials and assist attacks increases by 20%. It's going to, you know, combo into her other abilities as well as her dupes. And then whenever the character switches on field, it lasts for 5 seconds, and the lasting effect can be triggered once every 7.5 seconds. So this set to me also screams the fact that there's going to be in a future electric character that is going to do similar things to Burnice. So keep that in mind whenever you're summoning for her, so that you might also want a character after her that is going to be electric. So they're going to pair pretty well together. You're going to just swap between the two, spamming your skills, right? So this set will also double down there. It's going to give a new option for current Anomaly characters, or specifically Grace, because, well, there you go, right? Maybe Arena as well, but there's debates there, and you basically only want to build Pin on her. So please don't like roast me in the comments for saying that. I'm just saying that like there are other options that you can do. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to be best in slot or effective. But besides this from a 4-piece, you do have other options such as Swinging Jazz. You can run 2 pieces of this for energy recharge. It's going to be very good for her. You can do 2 and or 4-piece Inferno Metal, as I said, for the crit build. If you really are dying to try the crit build out, Inferno Metal is obviously going to give you that 28% crit rate. And it's going to, obviously work really well with Soldier 11 if you combine the two together, all that stuff, right? But yeah, I would still say 4-piece Chaos Jazz and 2-piece Inferno Metal. Other honorable mentions are going to be Hormone Punk for its raw attack percent. Obviously you can do 4-piece Freedom Blues or the 2-piece for Freedom Blues. I don't really recommend this, even the fact that she is very heavy on her EX special use, is because this is really ideally for characters like Jane, who first off on field, but secondly, you can run this on another character to boost Jane's damage via running Fanged Metal. So you run Fanged Metal on Jane and then put this on like Caesar, for example, right? I think that'd be better off there. So Freedom Blues will be solid, but I will say overall for your damage, definitely Chaos Jazz is going to be the way to go. So yeah, those are the weapons. To quickly cover Bangboos, because I know a lot of people ask them. Like other Anomaly teams, you're going to pick it based off the reaction you're trying to proc. So if you're running the generic Burnice team, you're going to be, if you can't, well, actually, sorry, I was about to make a mistake there. You're going to be running Plug Boo on her regular Disorder team, because Plug Boo is going to proc, a lot. It's going to help with that electric Anomaly build-up, right? You can also run the new one, assuming you can, if you're running both her and like Lucy and or Caesar, because this is going to give you the raw damage and do physical Anomaly buildup, which is going to help Jane specifically, because you'll get faster buildup there and then proc physical Anomaly off Jane, and so that's going to be really good. And since Bangboos can't proc it themselves, it's just really going to help your overall buildup, right? And so either the new one or the Plug Boo I would recommend, depending on which disorders you're trying to proc. Additionally, for 4 stars, you can obviously do the discount versions, or like Electric Boo, for example, or whatever other physical Boo there is. There's a lot of physical based ones, like the Safety Boo or the new Officer one, or Bang Revolver, right? So that's gonna be what it is, just based on whatever anomalies you're trying to proc, right? Moving on, because I think I'm doing everything correctly. Hopefully I'm not missing anything, because dear God, I would hate to do this for like a 20th time. It's already good. It's gonna hit 50 minutes. I apologize. Anyways, team builds. Let's take a sip of water. Excuse me. Jesus. Anyways, what's her best team? I got you. It's going to be any team, I would say, with this combination of 2 Anomaly characters plus support. So why is that? First off, she doesn't really have synergy with any of the other characters, which are primarily crit-based DPS characters, which is going to be a lot of the people down here. You're going to see the exclusion of characters like Ben and or Sakaku, because Sakaku is a single target buffer, which kind of hurts how Burnice wants to play, because she won't be getting buffed from Sakaku. And then Nicole, this one is going to be here or there, purely because 1, you're not getting the extra ether damage bonus, and 2, Nicole's buff is really hard to play around because it lasts so short. It's really ideally there for your burst damage dealers. So this immediately excludes all these characters down here because, well, they don't work well with her or don't want her on the team. Now, I will give an honorable mention to, first off, Vaughn as running a stunner option in the actual stunners. I don't see a reason to ever run Vaughn on this team because of the other stunner options, and or because he's not going to contribute as much as like Chingy or Caesar, for example. But you can, if you have Vaughn, run him, because he's going to give you that days multiplier increase on the team. And then honorable mention for Soldier 11, like pure fire team. If you do Soldier 11 plus Burnice plus Caesar or plus Lucy, this will be, for your pure fire team to get a lot of damage out, right? And this is where you would run like a crit build on her. But again, that's just, I'm not recommending it. I'm just mentioning that is a route you can do with this character. So then, as for your actual teams, I don't think Kaleda's that good for her because she's going to eat up your Anomaly buildup. You want the Anomaly buildup to be primarily the character like doing the like damage, which is going to be Burnice, right? And so Kaleda's actually going to eat up some of that fire buildup and ruin your burn damage. So yeah, she's not really a good option, but you can use her kind of like Vaughn. In fact, I'd probably use Vaughn over her, to be honest with you, but they're going to be less impactful options. And so options that are not going to impact your damage, unless you're doing shock, is going to be Ambi and Qingyi, right? So the thing with Ambi, at least Ambi with dupes can give you some energy recharge for your shock character, which can theoretically help Grace, the Grace Burnice, and oh my god, Ambi team, right? So that's going to be something that would work decently well. However, Qingyi obviously is so insane, and as we've seen with Jane Doe, they like to be stunned to do your most damage. And so you're going to get something out of running Qingyi in one of those slots, purely off the fact that she's going to increase your stun multiplier. If you can get her passive proc, mind you. You might have a hard time even procking the passive with some of these characters because it's going to restrict your team options, right? If we just quickly go over to Qingyi as an example, right? Because again, I don't want to like get anybody confused here. She's going to need an attack-based character or the same faction. So unless you run Seth and try to do like a Seth Anomaly build, you won't even be able to proc Qingyi's like effect, like to get the extra like days damage increase, right? So, or sorry, her days damage and impacts, which again, it's not really that big of a deal, but I just thought I mentioned that some of the teams you won't be able to proc the passive, but Qingyi is going to be a really solid option just for the days multiplier increase, and so you'll get that. And then as for the support characters, Caesar is basically going to just take over the game, and so she's going to be the best in slot support for like all these teams because you're getting, unless you've got like a giga cracked Lucy build that's completely maxed out with R5 weapon, Caesar's raw damage increases are just going to be stronger than this. You need like max stacks of Lucy to like compete, and then also her board damage, but that's the point. Caesar's going to be her best in slot teammate, and most teams with Burnice are going to look like Caesar plus Grace plus Burnice because you're going to get such high raw disorder damage. You're going to get your stun character in there, and you're also going to boost both of them. So they're going to get all their damage increases. You're going to do an insane amount of damage. This is, I would say, her best team, purely off of how disorder works. Now, granted, the team is still going to work totally fine if you use Jane. I do think potentially Jane could be more overall damage. Now, granted, we can talk about how Caesar can eat up some of your Anomaly procs, but Jane does such high raw Anomaly damage, and then the fact that they're both getting put together, I do think it'd be totally fine in practice, and it's arguably going to be her best team. So it's going to be some combo of her plus Jane plus Caesar, or her plus Jane plus Grace, right? I would say it's going to be her best team. Of course, there's going to be Piper, who's just going to perform worse than Jane, and I would say probably perform worse than Grace, because again, how the disorder works is going to flip-flop between the activating elements with, as we've already mentioned, physical disorder having a lower multiplier than one of the damage over time ones. So Piper's going to be screwed there because she doesn't have any additional abilities. So yeah, it's going to, for those Piper mains out there, your unit's just not that strong. That's all I can say. It's going to be a good upgrade for her, don't get me wrong, because you're going to have a, another way to proc disorder, but you're going to have some issues there. Additionally, as for Seth and Rena, Seth is going to be good for some of the teams if you don't have somebody like Caesar. Of course, you can always do Seth plus Burnice plus Jane, right? It's just you won't have the buffs on all of them. You'd be primarily buffing Jane, and Burnice is going to be left there to do whatever the hell she needs to do, right? Your stun's going to take a hit because you're not running a dedicated stunner, or again, Caesar, but there's that. And of course, there's the option of running Rena plus Grace plus Burnice, who is going to be very good because you're going to get that timer extension on your disorder procs. And so now both disorders are getting that timer extension, which is getting that massive multiplier increase, right? So that can be good. This build's going to be finicky, but this will allow you to make use of the res penetration I mentioned earlier, as well as the M2. So a high investment build, you might see this perform really well, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie. If you looked at Caesar's kit, I'm pretty sure this just beats out everything because but if you're going at a higher investment build and you're getting like dupes for these characters, an M2 Caesar that's giving you the res pin down, or sorry, the res down and the extra 500 attack is going to just outscale the other one. So that's a whole nother thing. And the benefit to this is that it doesn't mess up your rotation. So because she's physical, you're not going to mess up the disorder of the other two. so you're totally set. But that's going to be the teams, basically, right, guys? It's going to be Burnice plus another Anomaly, because she wants to proc Disorder. That's where you're getting the most of the damage from. And in the third slot, it's going to be one of the supports are stunned. That's basically the teams. Again, you're going to be more limited on team options for a variety of reasons. But I think this is, like, at least in my opinion, the best way that you're going to get the most, like, bang out of this unit is running her an Anomaly team. Unlike Jane, who's primarily a hyper carry character, Burnice is clearly an Anomaly god. As I've said, I think she's going to be more future-proof for Anomaly. Like, this is the go-to Anomaly character because she's getting that innate timer increase, off-field attacks, all this stuff, right? We'll see how she ages with these other Anomalies coming out, but I think this is going to be the best way to actually run her. It's going to be her plus another Anomaly plus some support, right? Whether that be Chingy, whether that be Caesar, whether that be Lucy, like any combination like that. The goal would be obviously to activate the character's passives. You won't get Grace's passive active that much because she, you know, needs the same faction or whatever. But again, it's here nor there. Hopefully this video helps. I do apologize for it being so long, but I'm trying to cover everything as much detail as I can. I don't know how did this get longer than the last one. Anyways, hopefully this helps. Hopefully I explained everything. If you do have any questions that or something I missed, comment it down below. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here.